Give you anymore. I want to introduce to you Captain Fraser. Captain Fraser, would you tell them what your full name is, how old you are, and what your birthday is?
Well, to start with, I am 101 years old, and I'm a graduate of the class of 1939, and my claim to fame is that I started the boating program back at the Citadel. They'd been on the bank of the Ashley River since I think they moved out there from the downtown location where the old Citadel was. They moved out to the present location on the banks of the Ashley River, and when I went down there, I'd gone to see. If you look on the wall in the dining room, there's a picture of a four-masted schooner.
This is to her commander, Bennett D. Coleman, Esquire.
Yeah, Bennett Coleman was the captain.
Okay, and the schooner is, what's the name of the schooner?
Anna R. Hydrider. That was the daughter of the owner of the Hydrider Lumber Company in New Jersey. And that's where the name came from. His daughter was Anna R. Hydrider. I used to go to sea on that schooner every summer. And we came into Charleston, and my dad, I lived in Spartanburg, my home was in Spartanburg. When I went to the Citadel, they had never done anything to promote boating activities. And in fact, I guess I was the first cadet that ever brought a boat to the Citadel. And so my claim to fame is that I started the boating program, and I guess the yacht club is still a very active activity on the campus.
Talk to me about your first day at the Citadel.
My first day.
Yes, your first day.
Well, I didn't, I wanted to go to the Colorado School of Mines because I'd always been interested in minerals, and I had quite a sizable mineral collection. So my dad came down to Charleston, and when the schooner that I'd sailed on came into Charleston, and my dad came down to take me home for the rest of the summer. And he said, "Donald, we couldn't afford to send you to the Colorado School of Mines. I know that's where you wanted to go. So I've entered you in the Citadel for the fall term." And I put my suitcase down in my sea bag, and I said, "Dad, I'm not going to the Citadel. I'm going to go back on the schooner and ask Captain Coleman if I can have my job back," because I'd been a mate on that schooner for about 3 months. And so anyway, he said, "Well, if you how about trying it for a semester?" And he said, we had a rowboat at home that had an outboard, and the registry numbers on the bow of that boat were U555, and we just called it the U-boat.
The U-boat. There you go, the U-boat.
And so he said, "You can have the U-boat down here, and you try it for a semester." And so anyway, I ended up going to the Citadel, and so my dad ran a lumber yard, and so we loaded that 14-foot rowboat on one of his trucks and took it down to the Citadel. After I was elected the Commodore of the yacht club, because I was the instigator of all the boating activities that started there. Because when I went there as a freshman, they hadn't done anything on the waterfront. There was no way to get out to the river from the Citadel, because you had about about 300, 400 yards of marsh you know, that marshal around there. There's nothing but mud. After we organized the yacht club, and we'd go out to Morris Island on Saturday, and would have a lunch, and the faculty advisor for the Citadel Yacht Club, he arranged to have the kitchen crew pack a lunch for us to take for the number of student cadets that were going out to Morris Island. We had a ceremony out on the Morris Island dedicating that monument that we built out there. And incidentally, that monument was built out of granite blocks that had been pavement in the street in Charleston. At one time, Charleston was all cobblestone.
And there are still some cobblestones.
These cobblestones were square, and they had a stack of them out behind the Citadel that was, there must have been 5,000 or 6,000.
And you transported those out to the island on your boat?
Yeah, we took those out to Morris Island on a power boat that a friend of mine who lived in Charleston, and so we used those granite blocks to build that monument, and that monument is made out of the paving blocks from originally started out in the streets as paving blocks in Charleston. When I had been elected Commodore of the Yacht Club, I got a message in my mailbox that General Summerall wants to see us. So I went over to his office, and I said, "You wanted to see me, General?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "I want to talk with you about the rank that you have in the Yacht Club." And he said, "So you said you're a Commodore?" I said, "Yes, sir, they elected me Commodore." And he said, "Well, I want to talk to you about that." He said, "You know, the Citadel is not a naval school; it's an army school." And so he said, "What would you think instead of being the Commodore, you were the president of the yacht club?" And I said, "Well, General, down at the Carolina Yacht Club, in the bar, they'll lie down on the floor and kick up their heels and say, 'Ha ha ha, have you heard? The Citadel has a president of the yacht club.'" So he said, so it's that way. I said, "Yes, sir, it's that way." He said, "The head man in any yacht club is a Commodore." And he said, "Well, then you're the Commodore." And I looked at him and I said, "General, I assume you had a complaint about this. Did it come from the military department?" And he said, "Well, why, yes, it did."
It doesn't change, does it?
So anyway, I was not a good student, but I did pull a lot of tricks.
Wait a minute, before, I gotta ask you, where would you get a cherry bomb at the Citadel?
Well, I don't know where I got them. But,
you don't remember, okay.
But anyway, I had 4, and I got, these poke sticks that you use to light fireworks with.
Yeah, the burning, a little.
So I made 4 of them with a cherry bomb, and I frayed the end of the fuse and wrapped it with a thread around, and so I made 4 of them, and I put them in a copy of the News and Courier, and I went over to Paget Thomas Barracks, and I put one in 4 different trash cans down on the bottom floor.
First
and
division.
then they were having they had the literary society was having a meeting over in the one of the classrooms on the lower floor over at Paget Thomas Barracks. So I went over for the literary society meeting, and while we're about 20 minutes into the meeting, here goes boom, and the Colonel Wiles was conducting the meeting, and he said, "Okay, I know everybody was in here, so I'll vouch, and none of you did that." And about that time, another one went off. So they got those poor guys and had them assembled down on the quadrangle with their rifles, and they marched them around Hampton Park and said, now, they lined them all up and said, now who did it? Of course, none of them did it, because I was over in Murray Barracks. Anyway, I played a few tricks.
In every parade we go to, they shoot the cannons, right? So we're talking about the salute guns. Okay, now I got it.
So what I did, they used to polish that cannon up and leave it sitting outside. Well, I took about 5 rolls of toilet paper, and I peeled them down to where the small roll of toilet paper would fit in that 3-inch barrel. And so I took these rolls of toilet paper, and I shoved 5 of them down the muzzle of that saluting gun. And so then the saluting gun was not in the garage, it was sitting outside, and then about half an hour before the parade, they brought it out to the
parade ground.
Drill, the
Parade ground.
Before they fired the gun for the parade, they would open the breech and look through. Well, they weren't looking through the barrel, they were looking through the rolls of toilet paper, 5 rolls of toilet paper.
They saw exactly what they thought they were going to see. They saw a hole, so there's nothing in the can. Brilliant.
They fired
That's brilliant.
Gun, and here comes these 5 rolls of toilet paper streaming out.
What company were you in? What battalion were you in?
I'm trying to think. I was in the Coast Artillery Battalion.
So
I was in M Company.
So were there 16 companies?
Well, how many levels did it go from A to M?
Where are the yeah. You're talking about Paget Thomas Barracks. You're telling me that the first floor of Paget Thomas was used for the canteen?
Yes, it was the canteen.
And classrooms there?
The tailor shop.
Tailor shop was there?
And there were a number of businesses that operated. Oh, the post office was down there. The post office was in the ground floor at Paget Thomas.
Was Murray Barracks have anything on the first floor, or was that all cadets?
That was the infantry corps over there. We had the infantry was in Paget Thomas Barracks, and the Coast Artillery was in Murray Barracks.
I see.
There were only 2 barracks when I was there. The first year I was there, they were building the 3rd barracks.
So, and they had to share their barracks with the business. You guys didn't have to share. There you go. Okay, that's what I was interested in hearing. We all, as cadets, report our first day. You at the Citadel, you got to salute somebody.
I'm going to a military school up in, which was a high school.
Right.
Fork Union Military Academy up in Virginia. And I'd gone there 2 years.
So you knew the drill.
So I wasn't a stranger to military life. So I knew close order drill. And so if you'd had some military training before you went to the Citadel, after you'd been there about 2 weeks, they promoted you to where you didn't have to do all the stuff that all the freshmen did. That it was you were privileged. You were privileged because you had prior military training.
What was your cadet rank when you graduated? Your cadet rank when you graduated?
What's that?
Your cadet rank, were you a sergeant,
I was a private.
I was a private. Good, senior private. So was I. I'm proud of it.
I was a senior private.
Did you leave barracks Friday afternoon after parade?
I didn't go to parade. We had the yacht club members were. We always had a dock guard because I told the commandant, Colonel Gaston, I told him that these kids were going down there and vandalizing our boats down at the dock. So we had a dock
Guard, of course, and it has to be during parade because that's when they're going to come. You and General Summerall must have gotten along very well for him to go along with that.
Oh yeah, well General Summerall thought I could do no wrong.
I can see where he would think that.
Yeah, I remember.
Two boats for the yacht club.
He bought 2 boats?
He bought 2 boats for the yacht club, and they were built by some boat building company up in New York, and they shipped them, in the 2 boats. There were 2 18-foot Seagull class sailboats, and they shipped them in a boxcar and on the side track.
The summertime in the Citadel, did you go back out on the schooner that you worked on, or did you stay in Charleston and work on the yacht club?
Well, I sailed on that schooner every summer, even after I had started going to the Citadel. I went to sea on that schooner every summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I started out, I was making a dollar a day. A dollar a day was a sailor's pay. So I was made a dollar a day. And then when I was promoted to being the mate on that schooner, I got $1.35 a day. $1.35 a day. Of course, that included room and board.
Let's go to your last day, graduation day, 1939.
Oh, well, now that's an interesting story. We did not have a graduation ceremony because they had a polio epidemic in Charleston. And they didn't have any, all of the movie theaters closed down. I don't know whether they stopped holding church services or not, but they had a polio epidemic the year that I graduated, and so it was they had really had just no. You were just sort of, here's your diploma, goodbye.
All right, so 1939. Did you sign a contract with the military? What were your prospects when you graduated?
I didn't go in the Army. I found out that if I had a merchant marine license, I could get a commission in the Coast Guard. So I took an exam, and I guess I went down to Savannah to take the exam, and I got a commission in the Coast Guard. Because that's, in other words, my rank of captain is not Army rank, it's Navy rank.
World War II. What did you do during World War II?
I started out, the first command I had was an 85-foot schooner that was doing patrol work out of Charleston. And then I got transferred to a cargo ship. I joined it in Norfolk, Virginia. It came through the canal and then out to Hawaii. And I was on that for about about 8 months. So I had, and then after that, I was the commanding officer of a 125-foot Coast Guard cutter operating out of Pearl Harbor. But we weren't. I wasn't there when the Pearl Harbor was attacked. The Tiger was that was the name of the Coast Guard cutter that I was on during the war. I had an interesting time in World War II, but I wasn't in any danger.
You graduate from the Citadel, you take a command on the East Coast with the Coast Guard,
Yeah.
and then the war breaks out and you get shipped over to Hawaii. You spent how many years in Hawaii?
How many years?
Yeah,
in Hawaii?
yeah.
About, I guess I was out there about 2 years.
2 years. You've been there for 2 years. What happened? The war ends. Where were you when the war ended?
I was on this 125-foot Coast Guard cutter.
Mm-hmm. Still in Hawaii?
And I started out, I was a training officer, and then I was, the guys that were on the ship when I joined it, they had been overseas 2 years, and so they, one by one, they left the ship and got transferred back to the States. So I ended up spending about, let's see, I was on the Tiger about 2.5 years.
So you actually commanded the Tiger at the
Yeah,
end?
I was the commanding officer on it. It was a 125-foot Coast Guard cutter.
Mm-hmm.
There were 47 men in the crew.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good time in the war. I wasn't slogging through mud in France.
What was the best moment of your life?
I had a lot of very good sailing experience sailing, and I did a lot of sailing out here too.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been fooling around in boats most of my life.
What would you do on a weekend with your girlfriend?
Oh, go sailing.
Of course. Is there something that you would like to say to all of us? Your daughter's here, your friends are, these are your classmates. Think about something that you'd like to...
I never really strived to achieve any fame, and I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. What advice would I give them?
Yes.
Well, I guess I've just always kept my nose clean.
Keep your nose clean, all right?
Keep your